Welcome back, folks, to the Get a Grip on Life podcast. On this show, I have Marianna Miniotis. Did I get it right? I think so. If you're looking to make digital videos or you want to start your own podcast, check out getagripstudios.com. That's how I did it. That's how I started the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. Hooray. It's great now. 10,000 listens a month. We're doing so good. Boo. You can do it too with getagripstudios.com. Check it out. Welcome to the Get a Grip on Life podcast, Marianna.
Different from the lighting.
I almost said lighting. See how close I came? Holy mackerel. I do a couple different shows now, and it's like, we have to start over because I did the wrong one. So you're a podcast lover from the original, 2008. That's when the rocket kind of took off. Dan Carlin started. Joe Rogan started. Right.
I don't listen to either of those. But that is, well, Dan Carlin, I guess, yeah, the hardcore history, right?
Yeah.
I started around 2008, I guess, listening to a comedy podcast called Oh Yeah Dude. It's it's very silly, just two guys talking. It's like the original format for podcasts, which is like two dudes that are funny talking to each other about everything. And that's people took that and rolled with it.
Yeah, for sure. Did they is that podcast still rolling now? Oh yeah.
Yeah, those guys never stop.
How many episodes do they release a week?
I've fallen off in the last few years, but I think they were going strong at like every couple weeks they would do an episode, something like that. They have tons of episodes now.
So like more
probably
like one
700
a month?
Or something.
Oh, like one a month though, or one every couple weeks, or what?
It used to come out every week, every couple weeks, something like that. It changes up because they have never their whole trajectory has been like they never wanted to change the format, so they have never had a guest, or maybe one time they had like one of their moms on or something. But they don't do guests. It's always been just them since 2006. It's been them and nobody else, and they have never had ads. They've basically just survived on Patreon now for the last few years. But before that, it was just nothing. They were just like out of their own pocket for like 10 years. It was intense.
That's a hobby.
It's a hobby that they made. I mean, they also did touring live shows, so they definitely sold some tickets once they got enough of a following. But yeah, then they wanted to make it a job. So they got the Patreon, and I guess that supports them. I don't know how well.
Raise a family on that one. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I don't know. I don't know them personally, and I don't do it. But
yeah. Do you find that over time that you kind of get sick of a podcast? Like sometimes you get sick of the host, or you're like, you have a run with him for a couple episodes, or her for like, whatever, a dozen episodes, and you're like, I'm sick of this person.
I guess that could happen, yeah. That's happened to me, but it's not so much the person, I guess, it's the show. I've just had enough of the show. Like with Oh Yeah Dude, I'm not sick of those guys. I still think they're charming and fun and so sweet. But I feel like they're just doing the same stuff now forever, and it's like fine.
You've heard those jokes already.
Yeah, they're not even jokes. It's just banter, but I've heard that banter before,
sure,
yeah.
Sure, and maybe you've heard the stories. Maybe they're retelling their stories and stuff like that.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, they've been at it for too long now.
Yeah, it's funny because with my lighting show, I often wonder, like, if the audience is... Because every time we've released more content, we've received less downloads per episode, but more overall downloads. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I guess I'm going to flip it on you,
Sure.
I guess. I'm so curious about this lighting podcast.
See, the future of podcasting to me, is if you can capture an industry-specific podcast and become the voice of that industry. So in 2016, I noticed that, I read some articles on podcasting. I was like, that sounds interesting. And I said, I want to start my own podcast like the Joe Rogan Experience. And then my wife, are you interviewing me on my podcast? Is that what's happening here? No. So my wife asked me, I said to my wife, I want to start a podcast. And she's like, why don't you start one on something you know about first? And
yeah, that makes sense.
And then see what happens. So I thought that was good advice. And then So I went to a trade association that I was a member of, and I said, hey guys, why don't we start a podcast and I'll be the host? And they're like, Colligan thinks he's the Joe Rogan of lighting now, right? So I said, fine, I'll do it on my own. So I did it on my own, and then by episode 5, it had taken off so much that they decided to become the headline sponsor of the show. And then by episode 10, we were getting significant amount of downloads, and not all downloads are equal, or not all interactions with people are equal. If somebody's watching a show on commercial industrial lighting, that's a very valuable viewer, right? So some of the bigger shows like the Joe Rogan Experience, you're advertising Butcher Box or razors for men or something like that everyone can participate in, right? So it's like a very low. How many people actually listen to the ads of a podcast?
Yeah.
Right? So you have a very low engagement, young audience skewing younger. And with our audience, it skews older. Oftentimes it's streamed.
With the lighting one or the life one?
The lighting one, yeah. Huh. The life one's not so popular, but I enjoy it. I like to speak to different people. I really enjoy having conversations with people about different topics. Some of them have been pretty intense.
Yeah.
I don't know if you look at any of the shows. Like
I've listened to some of it. I listened to the one with the podcaster, because that's what I'm into.
Sure.
It's a sisterhood.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was an interesting one.
Yeah.
When I asked her, tell me about white privilege, right? I'm a white guy from Uxbridge, right? Tell me all about it. And while I don't agree with maybe the specifics of what any individual saying about a large social issue that is probably a lot broader in scope than most of us can imagine from our perspectives.
Sure.
The pain was real from her. You know? Like the idea, like some people say, oh, that's crazy or it's not crazy. I don't know what the answer to that question is. You know what I mean? Like I'm not afraid to talk about it, but I'm afraid to speak to it. Let's say that. Yeah. I welcome, someone telling me about it, especially someone of African descent or Caribbean descent that would, bring maybe some real knowledge. But I listened to her podcast, and the way she spoke on her own podcast about it and the way she spoke to me was different. And I thought that was interesting. That when you're in these conversations with a real person, it's, I don't know what the right way to put it is.
It's more intimate.
Yeah, it's hard to start pointing fingers at, like as if I represent a whole group of people. Sure. I don't. Yeah. I'm just me. And if I take, my consciousness and everything else, like I'm kind of into that deeper stuff too, like the spirituality of it and all the labels we wear every day. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a entrepreneur, I'm a podcaster. We wear all these labels all over ourselves. And I think it in some ways we wear them like badges. I'm an African American, or I'm a white guy, I'm a this, I'm that, and then what happens is there's almost an eroticization of other people that are not like you, which is you create this idea in your head of how a Chinese person is from China, right? Or whatever, and then that becomes like a stereotype, and it's molded and manipulated by the rules of speaking in your culture. Right. But you have your own perceptions and thoughts about it. But then when you sit down with somebody like that and they ask you, okay, what is cultural appropriation? How does it work? And I listened to her say it. And again, I can't remember what she told me, but my memory of it is that the pain was real. The person that was telling me this was really feeling those bad emotions that come.
Well, that's a good thing to notice.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, you can't see that if you don't open yourself up to speaking with people.
Right. Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to ask you all about race issues.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, it's just like that. Like that's why I do this, because when you render yourself vulnerable like this, which is what it really is, when you're speaking to someone you don't know, right? That's why I always tell everybody it's our show, but you can have editorial control over it. But
it's the same thing I tell people when I interview them for the blog, which we'll get to at some point, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Well, you started off.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't mean to take over your show.
That's okay. Take it over.
Yeah, it's the same thing I tell people, though. Like, I'm not here to expose you in any way, you know, like I'm not trying to get you. It's really just about getting to know someone and letting other people get like a little window.
Do you think that gotcha stuff offends the podcast medium?
I don't really know any podcasts that are based on gotcha journalism or anything.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty real when people are talking with one another, that there's like a bond there.
Yeah, I think
conversation.
But I maybe that's what people want to hear more. It seems like podcasting, I'm sure it's got like its weird dark sides and stuff, and you know, some sort of pompous people making podcasts, but in general I find it a very friendly medium. Like I don't encounter many podcast hosts that are, I mean, I guess there's a couple, but that are like super negative or like this gotcha sort of attitude or trying to take people down. Yeah. I did encounter one, and it's because for the blog I try to find podcasters in Toronto. Mm-hmm. That's the local aspect of it. And there's one guy who reached out to me, I think, and it wasn't you. Don't worry, I'm not talking about you. Some guy reached out to me, and I checked out his podcast, and it was like full of bad opinions that I would not support. So it happens.
Yeah, you know what? But I think it's important that you let people do that. There's no more worse advertising for racists than to just put them on TV and listen to them speak. Like there's no like that.
So
like
you
nobody
mean
would want
publicly
to
shame them?
Yeah, not publicly shame them. Just they publicly shame themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the average person walking around is not going to harbor those kind of feelings. That's someone that's...
The only problem is that if you put someone up on a platform like that and they're screaming their racist thoughts into the world, yeah, most of us will be like, well, that guy's an idiot. Mm-hmm. But some people are going to be like, oh, he's got a point.
Suppressing it is worse, though.
Yeah.
There's like
I guess fueling it feels like not a good idea, though.
That's a tough one. You know, it's like there's a line between, you know, free speech and well, it's becoming very blurred. But there's a line between free speech and sort of what do they call it when you incite hatred, mm-hmm. and the inciting of you know, bad you know, philosophies or ideologies.
Right.
There's a difference between those two things, right? Like if someone said, I'm going to start the Nazi podcast and we're going to bring back the...
yeah, let's talk about Nazi stuff.
Yeah, like, no, you're not doing that. That's not happening, right? So we do have lines, but where that line should be drawn, who should be the one that draws the line, that's a very complicated question.
Yes. Something I was not planning on solving today.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. Tell everybody it's your show, man, because you never know where you're going to go with this stuff. I got a bit of a crazy mind. But tell me a little bit about your blog after you got laid off. So you got laid off.
Yeah. I used to work at Yellow Pages, and they laid off 500 people across Canada, which was 90% of my team also got laid off. So we were like about 60 people nationwide, and we were whittled down to like the 4 or 5 people that they kept. So a lot of people lost a lot of stuff. I mean, there were single moms that like had worked there for 10 years. There were people that were really flat out on their butts. Can I swear here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, but me, I was okay. And I saw it kind of as a positive thing. I took it pretty well, because I was like, well, this is a good opportunity to, you know, check out my interests and maybe try to move in a direction that I'm more interested in, or passionate about. And I started thinking kind of like, what am I really into? And I realized I'm listening to podcasts like all day, every day, like a lot of podcasts and lots of hours. So, I mean, I went through the whole Comedy Bang Bang universe, like from start to finish. And it took me over a year, but I was listening to that podcast all day, every day. Yeah. So I started thinking like, well, I'll try and get involved in something in Toronto. Another big thing I like to do is just support local arts in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I love to go to shows and stuff, local theater and things. So I was like, I'll get involved in the community. And I started emailing people, and I met the guys from the Sonar Network, which is a local podcast network in Toronto.
Okay.
And I became close with them very quickly. We became friends. I kind of just emailed them like, hey, if you guys need any help with anything or like want to talk to me at all or something. I don't remember what I said. Or if you want to be like want a friend or something.
You want to be friends?
Yeah. Basically, I emailed them and I was like, you guys want to be my friend? And then they said, yeah, let's meet up for coffee. And then I went and I met them, and they were the nicest people in the world.
Cool.
And they were like, we don't really have a job for you, but you can hang out and like just be part of it, I guess, however you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept going and hanging out where they were recording. They have multiple shows, like a bunch of shows on the network, and they used to record in this small space at Pacific Junction, which I think is closed now. But yeah, I used to go and hang out there and just kind of met some random people that would record shows and stuff. And anyway, so we became friends. At the time, I was doing a marketing class, just part of my sort of trying to figure out what I like and all that. And in one of my courses, I had to do a project. And the options were you could do a podcast or a video, like a vlog, or a blog, a written blog. So I decided to kind of marry those two things. And I approached the Sonar guys, and I said, I have to do a project. I've decided to do a blog. And if you want, I could do a blog where I help kind of promote the Sonar Network at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So my idea was to interview podcasters in Toronto. And initially it was heavy on Sonar content because that's how I knew podcasters. It was my first, they were the people that I would go through to meet them.
Sure.
And then I kind of branched out. I started looking on my own for other podcasters around the city. I found a few. Some people approached me. And it kind of, got rolling that way.
So you met a bunch of podcasters. How many of them make money?
I have no idea. I don't ask them those kinds of questions.
Why not? That's the most important question to ask.
That's
That's a huge difference. That's a huge difference, I think.
How so?
See, I think I'm going to throw out some rough statistics here, okay?
Okay.
But I think one of the...
You could throw out any number and I'll believe you because
Okay.
I have no idea.
So what I'm interested in is, like, more than anything, how to... So the cost to produce a podcast episode, depending, is, if you have your own gear and you take your own time, say 4 hours, you pay yourself $25 an hour, say. Let's say we that's a minimum, right? For someone that knows how to do this. It's about $100 an episode on the low end. And then you get up like probably the street, like we charge $200 for an audio only, $250 for video podcasting, and then $350 for our virtual studio, which you can have 8 people come in from around the world and be interviewed on over the internet. But to me, it's like a lot of this stuff, there's a collegial feel to it because there's a lot of hobbyists. Right? And the idea of a podcast network is a way to find ways to, to monetize these shows.
Yeah.
So that the artists can earn a living or make a living doing podcasting. And that's, I think, the next 10 years of podcasting is figuring out the business model in order to make money doing this.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people working on that. I think, though, that's not the only goal of podcasting. There is also just the idea of creating content that is fun to listen to. There is, because there are people, like a lot of the podcasts that I listen to are not geared toward like they're not aiming to make a living from this podcast. It's more like a lot of them are improvised, like comedy kind of podcasts. So those people are usually already trying to doing different things. Some people are auditioning constantly for different things. Some of them are actors. They're kind
testing
of
material out, stuff like that.
Sure, they test material out, but it's also just like a fun way to improvise with other people in the comedy community. It's like and then people that are within the community and even outside of it are getting access to like fun stuff to listen to.
You know what's interesting about that view? That's a view. I take the completely opposite view. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now,
I see that.
No, it's not a bad thing. It's just like I look at it like this. If you can't charge for something, it has no value by definition.
That depends how you define value.
I know. That's the interesting part, right? So, like, if you can't recover your expenses and then a little bit extra in order to make some money on it. If you're doing a podcast, now maybe I'm going to piss everybody off in the world out there with this that does podcasting, but I think it's a hobby.
Oh man, this podcast's going down today.
Yeah, get a grip on life's over. It's over. No, but I mean, I don't think that that is. I think it's a hobby.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that you're not a professional podcaster then.
Maybe you're not getting paid, but also that's not, me saying that sometimes it's just about content creation. That's not to say that people don't want to monetize their podcasts. And the idea of having a network, of course, is to bring together all these shows in the community and to build a community and a network around it. But of course that costs money. Mm-hmm. Like that is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, there's $20,000 worth of stuff in the studio right here.
Exactly. So it's not just equipment though. Like, it's,
sound panels,
everything,
right?
And even finding people, like it's just like, even just labor, like it's just the work that you put into it. Most of these people have a full-time job. The guys that run the Sonar Network have jobs where they're busy.
Oh, you mean that's not their full-time job?
No.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's
what I'm saying. That's the secret sauce here.
Yeah. The idea is eventually to get it to a place where they can bring some money back in to the network, obviously, because they're not just going to keep putting money out of their pockets like forever, like, because then what are they doing? They're just losing money. But if once they, the ball has been rolling and they're getting some word out and they have good shows on the network and they get great guests and stuff on all the shows. So eventually, I'm sure the plan is to bring some money back in. And then at that point, you need to start thinking about monetizing and advertising and things like that. And
it kind of offends the medium in a way.
I guess there's
nothing
like
worse than the middle of a podcast where they stop and they start reading ads. It's oh man, come on.
I agree to an extent, but there are ways to do it really well.
By the way, this episode of the show.
There are ways to do it really well. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know a show called Hollywood Handbook.
No, is it good?
I can't. It is famously billed as a show that is impossible to get into. Or you have to listen to 15, 20 episodes to even understand it.
Okay.
Anyway, it's shrouded in irony
Lord of the
and
Rings,
stuff.
not Lord of the Rings. What's that other show?
Yeah, it's like the Lord of the Rings. I never understood it.
Yeah, what's that other show? The with the castles and the dragons and all
Game
that?
of Thrones.
It's like Game of Thrones. You can't just start watching it in the middle. You're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, Game of the Rings.
Game of the Rings. Yeah.
Okay. So no, I brought it up as an example because what they do with their ads. Okay, what happened is Hollywood Handbook used to be. They're an Earwolf show. Earwolf is a big podcast network in LA. They're an Earwolf show. And at some point, Earwolf they started putting premium content, which means people started paying.
Paywall. Yeah.
Yes, they put things behind the paywall. The idea was they put the show behind the paywall, then people could pay to listen without the ads. But when they did that, like they did that with other shows too, and it was great. People were like, cool, I can pay now and listen without the ads. It's wonderful. But when they did that with Hollywood Handbook, everyone got pissed off because they were, and they had this huge backlash of fans being like, where are the ads? I want the ads. Like, so much so that they had to release a whole feed of the show that was just the ads. So now when you subscribe to Earwolf, you can listen to Hollywood Handbook without the ads if you want, or just the ads in a row, because they had done the content and the ad like integration so well that their ads were content, like, to the fullest extent. They had storylines, they had characters, they had funny jokes, they had nonsense that were so fun to listen to that you completely forgot that you were listening to an ad.
Yeah, we do that with the lighting show too.
Do you?
Yeah, so what we'll do is in the beginning, we'll just introduce the guest and then we'll talk about a new product. And it's just two lighting dorks that are pretty good at doing lighting. And we'll talk about the lighting and what we think of it. And people listen to it. They're like, oh, that's a pretty cool product. And this is a great place for wireless controls because it's a stadium and you can have it on your phone. You can set that, stuff like that. And people listen to it. They like it. But it's not like I'm in the middle of a lighting show advertising for, Butcher Box, not to beat those guys up or whatever,
Yeah, Butcher Box, please get at us.
Yeah. It's relevant and it's kind of integrated into the vibe of the show, so people listen to it and they don't mind it. But I think the secret, it's interesting that you're writing a blog about podcasting, but you're not overly concerned about the fact that, especially in Canada, there's not that much money for podcasters.
Well, I guess I've never, not never, but that's not where podcasting started, I guess. It's not something I always will associate with podcasts. I mean, first and foremost, to me, it's content and not a business model. But of course, I see the need for monetizing. Like, you can't just keep doing free stuff forever, right? But it's not, my immediate connection is not like podcasts making money. Like, those are not, you know what I mean? Yeah. Those things don't fire off for me.
Let me ask you, it's interesting. That's the first thing I thought of. But, anyway.
But you have a podcast and you need money, so.
That's right. Yeah. Let me throw something at you. So you know how, like, who's Facebook's customer?
Businesses, I guess.
It's not the users, right? Google's customer is not the person who searches Google.
Right.
They're the product in a sense. I think a lot of podcasters are reticent to look at their listeners as a product that they sell.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the issue.
Yeah. Well, that's it's already happening in a very big way that like advertising on podcasts is a huge thing. Earwolf that I mentioned is like now owned by, I don't even know how the bubble goes, but like there's Midroll Media. Sure. And Midroll is a huge company that is specifically their purpose is to drive advertisers to podcasts. Like it's a big enterprise. Like, and they pretty much, I think they own Earwolf now. So like, I don't know what channels they go through, but if you go to the Midroll website, there's like all kinds of charts and I don't know, write-ups about how important advertising is on podcasts, how successful it is, and all these numbers and stuff. So it's already happening in a big way.
So when you're saying you help them promote their shows, you're helping them how?
It's just exposure. It's just another thing that they can point to and say, like, look, somebody wrote a thing about my show. That means it's good or something.
What's your blog called?
It's called Podcreatures.
Podcreatures.
Yeah.
Podcreatures.
Like the aliens.
How often do you post?
Good question. I have, I just did an interview recently that I haven't written up fully yet, but it really depends how busy I am in my life, because it's not, in the beginning, it was very regular. It was like every couple of weeks. Then it was like once a month. Then now it's like every few months, It's really become more further and further apart because I'm just busy with other things.
Sure.
But yeah, I have one now in the works. I just interviewed some people. The two hosts of Inappropriate Questions, which is a great show.
Inappropriate Questions.
Yeah.
That's a good theme for a show.
It's great.
So
it's
what do
a
they
really
ask
good
people?
show.
What kind of
So
questions?
they don't really ask the questions. The idea is that every episode revolves around one question that people find inappropriate. Like, for example,
How much did you pay for your house?
sure, yeah, that could be, yeah, that could definitely be one. One is like, what are you? Like, you know, when you ask that, like a mixed race person, what are you?
I'm a human being.
There's one.
No, I want to know.
There's one of those.
You're a Greek Canadian.
Yeah. Yeah, or like even
Does that mean that your
just-
nationality of your parents is Greek or you're ethnically Greek?
What
Are you?
is the difference?
I'm joking with you.
Okay.
What are you?
What am I? Yeah, so anyway, yeah, another one is like why don't you drink? Like, you know, if you're at a party, somebody doesn't drink.
Yeah, that's a weird.
That's a weird question to ask. Some people have very
Because I'm an
personal
alcoholic.
stuff.
I mean, I don't know, yeah.
I mean,
It's a
some
weird
people don't
answers.
feel good answering that way.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, anyway, the podcast is basically every episode revolves around
That's interesting.
a question like that.
Inappropriate questions. I got to check those guys out, or gals, I should say.
It's one, I think, sort of non-binary woman, sort of, I guess. I can't
does
say
that mean?
non-binary.
What does it mean? What does
She, I mean,
non-binary
her
mean?
pronouns are like she or they.
Okay.
So she goes with whichever one is fine. But
Okay.
she is, I guess,
Is it inappropriate to ask what non-binary means exactly? I don't know.
I am not a non-binary person, so I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
I don't know.
That's
Some
one of those
people,
inappropriate questions, I guess.
I think inappropriate depends on the context,
Sure.
always. And I think that's something that they talk about a lot in the show too. Like, it's always.
Is it serious or is it comical?
It's serious, but in a sweet way. Like, they're not. I mean, you know, they're not trying to yell at people for asking
people
things.
down.
Yeah, definitely not. The point of it is very much to like explore why this question might be inappropriate, or maybe if it's not inappropriate in certain contexts, and just kind of look at that together. And they talk to sometimes social experts, sometimes people that have personal experiences with that question, and they talk about how it makes them feel. And like, it's a very loving sort of way to approach it. It's definitely not like, don't ask this question ever. Like,
Sure.
you know.
Or
Yeah.
why is this question inappropriate? Is an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
So who are the beauty broads? That's an interesting one. That might be an
Beauty
appropriate
broads.
name.
The beauty, I guess, to some people, yeah. The beauty broads are just a podcast that I found them I had been following them on Instagram because, you know, I'm always looking for like Toronto shows to interview them. And on one of their posts, they said something like, you know, like, we finished season 1, but like, we really can't work on season 2 right now because we need an editor or producer or whatever. And if you know anybody, like, you know, let us know, because we're struggling, and they have full-time jobs and kids and dogs. And so I reached out to them and I said, I'll edit your show if you want. And they were like, okay, well, we can't offer you anything, but we'll call you the editor or producer. And I was like, sure, that's fine.
So now you're the producer of the Beauty Broths. What's their best show about?
What's their best show about? Probably the one where one of them gives the other one a butt facial.
Okay. How does that work? How does a butt like? So
She, I think it's just a scrub or something
Of the butt?
that you, on the butt cheeks area.
interesting.
So yeah,
I actually experienced something like that very recently.
tell me all about that.
I will. I went to France for a week to do some podcasts, and actually we did the first.
At the top of the Eiffel Tower.
No.
Okay.
No, in the I don't know what the name of the hotel was. Can't remember now. But anyway, it was the LiFi World Congress. That's an interesting light fidelity internet.
Okay.
So internet over the light, as opposed to radio waves.
Wow.
It's coming in hot.
Blowing my mind already.
Yeah, for sure. That's the matrix right there.
Yeah. Okay.
Then you're in the matrix. So if the internet
when the light is the internet, you're in the matrix?
You're in the matrix.
Oh my God.
Now you're like Neo.
Dodging bullets.
Yeah. Right?
Wow.
You're going to be in the matrix.
Sweet.
So anyway, we did the first
wait.
live stream over LiFi in history, I think. So there you go.
Wait, so this is already happening?
Oh, we already did. It's out there. Yeah.
Is it here right now?
No, there's no Li-Fi in here.
Okay.
I'm an illusion. It's a way of internet signals. Instead of using radio waves, you use light waves.
Right.
And it's more secure. So think of it this way.
Why isn't this everywhere?
It's going to be everywhere. I think so. I wasn't a believer at first, but now I'm a believer. So think about it this way. Wi-Fi is like screaming.
I say that every day.
And Li-Fi is like seeing or looking.
Okay.
Right? So if you can't see something, then the internet won't be there. But whereas if you're at the front of my house or you're out the front here and you shout loud enough, I can hear you. Right? So it's a really crude way. Wi-Fi is very crude. Whereas if there's no light, if I shut that door, then the internet doesn't go out there.
Wow.
But it's still connected to each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the light on both sides of the room, if they're connected to the internet, both areas are connected, but I can shut you out, right? So Li-Fi is these are your Li-Fi receptors right here. You already have 2 of them.
So you can see the internet?
No, you can't see it. You can't see it, but you will be able to feel it. That's for sure.
You can feel it?
See, my belief
is...
Like
a tingle?
Yeah. My belief is
that... ooh, it feels like there's internet in here.
Here's the thing. Why, the whole idea of a receiver, right? Right? The idea, why do you need a receiver?
I don't know.
Exactly.
No, I genuinely
this
have
is
no
this
idea.
could be your head is a receiver already, right? So maybe this is a receiver, right? Like what if we could send communications into you?
No, thank you.
Right? It's coming out.
I'm going to do a hard pass on that.
Now people are saying that Li-Fi is not going to happen. It's going to happen. And the thing about Li-Fi is it's like they say, oh yeah, you need a receiver, you need all this sort of stuff. But it's like, I'm one of these guys that look way further down the road, right? It's like, oh, you need a little receiver for this Li-Fi right now, right? But you're sending messages through the light and it's wicked fast and you don't even know why it's that fast. Oh, because it's the speed of light, right? Okay. Why do you need a receiver? Why can't it just know what you are? Right? You understand what I mean?
I mean, you're losing me a little, but
okay. So let's say
it sounds like the Matrix.
Yeah, it's the Matrix.
Yeah.
Now I talked to 4 scientists over there about it, and most of them are like, oh, what are you talking about the Matrix? It's just a signal. But I'm like, nah, it's not going to work that way because I talked to the actual. I believe this. The actual Li-Fi signal itself will be smart. You won't need it's not going to be a tube or a pathway. It's going to be a ecosystem of the internet that you are going to participate in. Right?
Sweet.
Why do you need a receiver? Everything's going to be like this idea of and you stick this dongle in your computer and now you have a Li-Fi receiver. Oh, okay. Well, what if we don't have that and we're just in the internet and they figure out the secret? I really believe that Li-Fi is a very interesting technology.
Sweet.
In a way that I don't think people have thought of really about long term.
I've literally never heard of it. So
yeah, well, it's a French technology from France, and it hasn't really come to North America yet, but it's coming.
So you were in France talking about Li-Fi.
Oh, and then so then I went to this chateau.
Yeah.
And I had a massage.
Nice.
With grapes.
What?
Yeah. So what?
Squished grapes?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty wild, eh?
Tell me more. So
what they do is they it's really weird. You put on these it's different. I don't think this would happen in Canada, but you put on this little tiny Speedo kind of thing, but it doesn't have a back on it. Just kind of.
So I'm laughing at the idea of this being outlawed in Canada or something.
I don't think it's outlawed.
Okay.
No, it's legit. It's called La Source de Cadouli in Bordeaux. So
wow. Okay.
So it's a legit spa.
So you're wearing a Speedo.
I'm there with my wife. Come on.
Is she also in a Speedo?
She was in the other room.
Oh.
So I don't know what she was wearing. But
okay.
So I walk in the room and there's this little Speedo thing sitting on the table. I'm like, what the hell do I do? So
Well,
look,
put it on
seriously,
naturally.
Put it on, right? So put it on, and then what they do is they take these grapes and they squish them all over you and all over your back and your butt and everything. They rub it all in, and then they have these frozen grapes that they take and they rub all over your face. It's super good, actually. That part was the best. But the squishing of the grapes all on me, that's a little bit weird. I don't think I would ever do it again.
What's the purpose of that? Like
I just think
antioxidants? What is it?
I think it's just complete and total decadence.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's I don't think there's any purpose to it other than
Just like
I want to be as ridiculous as
Yeah.
I possibly can. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Like just like bathing in like whipped cream or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
Okay.
Stalin.
Like Stalin used
Yeah.
to do that?
Yeah, wasn't that the thing about
Used
him?
to bathe in whipped
milk
cream?
while the children starved. I don't know.
Right.
Check that out, Scotty, if that was legit.
Yeah, Google it, Scott.
No, but I mean like it's just pure decadence. That's all I can say. And it was
Okay.
ridiculous, but it was fun too at the same time. Why not?
That sounds great.
It was fun.
I
as
would do
heck.
that.
Sure. Why not?
Sure.
The place is amazing. But you know, there's a big difference between the way, European luxury is versus North American luxury. I'm sounding like a real asshole now. I bet all you listeners out there getting grapes squished on me. But yeah,
Don't lie. You do it once a week now.
I squish those grapes. I like the frozen ones were awesome.
Are they full frozen grapes or they squish those too?
No, they're frozen solid. And
They
what
just
do
roll
is they
them
kinda
around?
roll them around your eyes and on your
That is so bizarre.
temples. Yeah, so it's like awesome though.
Okay.
That was awesome.
I'm going to try it when I get home.
Frozen grapes. Yeah.
Just rub frozen grapes all over my
You
face.
just gotta rub it all on your tongue. You gotta get someone else to do it, and they kind of go like this, and there's like this, and you get into it. Yeah, the beauty broads would probably like it.
They would probably definitely do an
But
episode
they
on it or
squish those
something.
grapes on my butt for sure.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's a butt facial, but
I don't think there were grapes involved. They didn't mention them in the episode. But yeah, basically one of them gave the other one a butt facial and they recorded it. I don't really know what a butt facial is. It's just like a thing you put on your butt and then take it off, I guess.
I mean, maybe people have pimples on their butt. I don't know.
I think the idea is just to cleanse the skin and like
Sure.
obviously moisturize it and
Yeah,
whatever. So you have a nice little butt.
Why not? Beach butt.
Yeah, beach butt. So yeah, that's their best episode, I guess, or one of the fun
A
ones.
little bit outrageous.
Mostly they like just it's honestly not my it's not my content, like it's not the stuff that I really look forward to listen to because I'm not super into facial creams and
Yeah.
makeup and whatever. I mean, I like stuff, but it's not my obsession and
Sure.
they love it. It's their passion. They love skincare and they love makeup. And the reason I reached out to them was not because I was like, oh, I love this stuff and I love skincare.
Sure.
It was more, I felt like, well, any episode I had heard with them, they are charming, funny girls and they're, always excited and fun to listen to, which is a huge thing. Obviously, you don't want like crappy hosts that are just like boring. So they're really fun to listen to. And I feel like there are people that love skincare that would listen to funny people talk about it. So yeah, I really like editing their show. They're now working on season 2. I think it's going a little slow because they've got crazy lives.
What you got to do is you got to build a podcast studio in your office.
Right.
So then you just
That's right.
jump in there real quick and
Yeah.
do the podcast.
Yeah.
That's what I did. So
And it's
if you
going very well.
And if you want to rent it out, come on, go to getitgripstudios.com, baby. Woo. We do have clients though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have people
bet.
that come and use it. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, we do. It's one of those things where
Can
you
I
know,
ask?
yeah.
Can I ask how much you charge?
Yeah, it's on the website. We charge I think it's $200 for an audio only.
For how long?
I think as long as you want.
Oh,
2.5 hour session. 2.5 hour
Is
session.
that
Thank you,
right?
Scott.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody goes long. If they went longer than that, we wouldn't really care. But I mean, most people can't go 3-4 hours. And if you can't do multiple episodes in that, it's per episode. And then Scott
Oh,
will
you can't do multiple episodes.
Yeah, I mean, Scott will probably give someone a break on if they wanted to do a bunch, but
So it's $200 an episode, basically.
yeah. And Scott will put a bookend, and he'll edit a couple edits for you and put a bookend of an intro and conclusion on if you want after.
And they get access to the booth and the equipment, everything they want.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
audio only.
Audio only. What do we charge for video, Scott?
$300 for video, yeah.
And $350 for the remote guests to bring your guests in online. But most.
Oh, yeah.
So you can speak to you could have 8 people up there.
Oh, why aren't we doing that?
We could do it. You want to call
No,
Greg
I'm
right
just,
now?
I'm just kidding.
Get Greg in here. Yeah, no. So my co-host for the lighting show, he comes in there, and then most of the guests come in there, and we just.
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah, so it's we have those options for people. It's actually a lot of people do use the virtual studio is what we call it.
Yeah.
They use it, and you know see, we have a hard high-speed internet line just for that here.
So,
The problems are always on the other end. Somebody else's internet speed's not fast enough to do it.
what kinds of shows record here? Like, what audio gets recorded? You said some people, you have clients and they come and
Yeah.
record. Are they podcasts or are they?
Scott, they're mostly podcasts, aren't they? Are they? Some of them are internal. Some of them are internal business podcasts for a
Right.
company.
We've done one series that was specifically like corporate training for pharmaceutical salesmen that will never go out to anyone except for like 20 guys, working for this one company. We've also had just regular podcasters come in and do their own stuff. Shout outs to the Prodigal Sons. They've done video shows out of here.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Who else? The couple, but it's not as busy as I would like it. But yeah, it's and there's a lot of free options for podcasters out there. But free-ish depends on what you consider free, right? If you want to do all your own work,
Well,
you
sure.
know what I mean? If you can find Marianna
also-
Miniotis to come by and edit your podcast for you.
Yeah. We are few and far between.
Yeah.
Um,
So here's what I would say. I would
Yeah.
say that the real traction, what's going to happen now in podcasting, is you're going to see the rise of the industry podcast. So I started an industry podcast, and it's in the lighting industry. And what you need to do is you have to release bi-weekly or weekly. Like you really got to come out hot.
you got to commit. Yeah.
You got to come out hot. So you got to commit to 24 episodes. And when people come in here, I actually turn a lot of people away because I'll take some calls and they'll come, hey, man, I want to start a podcast. I'm like, okay. How many? I want to come out with 10 episodes. I'm like, okay, what are the themes of your first 10 episodes? Oh, I don't know. Okay, so, email me back your 10 themes and then we'll discuss it. Because a lot of people don't have they don't realize how much energy it takes to do a show, especially when you're first starting out. My first show on the lighting show, I was sitting in the same spot for so long on this corner of this stool in a studio downtown that my entire lower body fell asleep. And I went to get up and I fell over because I was so nervous.
Oh my
and
God.
I was so kind of like stressed out about doing it. Now, 200 episodes later, that doesn't happen to me anymore. But in the beginning, the amount of energy required to put out an episode is probably like
the health
equivalent.
hazards of podcasting.
Yeah, it's like probably 2 or 3 days work. Like
Yeah.
8 hours a day to put out an episode. Whereas, if you're actually serious about it and you're not a hobbyist, so if you're a corporation or if you're somebody that's like, I don't know what your gig is. Let's say you're into nuts and bolts. Okay, I interviewed a guy on my show who started a podcast on software development. Guy gets 30,000 downloads an episode.
What show is that?
What's that guy's name? Scott? Look him up. Can't remember off the top of my head. He contacted me on Twitter.
Look it up, Scotty.
Look it up, Scotty. Beam me up, Scotty. That's my LiFi line. Beam me up.
I still maintain I'm more like Miles O'Brien.
There you go. Well, when I did the first live stream on LiFi, it's beam me up, Scotty. Right? So
Okay.
beam me up. That's what it's going to be. I'm telling you.
That you can get beamed up into space.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Your consciousness is going to go right up into
Right up in the light.
right up into the light.
Oh, man.
Okay, go to the light, man. All the metaphors.
They're going to come true.
Hey, you know what's weird? So I'm interviewing this lady coming up that's a end of the world specialist. Like
Oh
a
my
biblical, like she believes and hey,
Oh, like a rapture.
Book of Revelation lady. Can't wait to meet her. Awesome. Can't wait. When is that? That one, Scott's looking up something else. Right?
That one's recording on the 9th.
The 9th,
I know.
okay.
I remember that.
Can't wait.
In terms of software development, I'm trying to remember. This is early. This
He's
is before my time.
15 or 16, something like that. Anyway.
Yeah.
So he's got a ton of downloads. He contacted me over Twitter to get a reference for somebody for show notes. Mm-hmm. And then I asked him to come on the show, and we ended up talking. And he had an interesting story about his show. But again, industry specific, right?
Right.
Ruby. We have one show on software called Ruby on Rails, which is like a really hot software right now for web development applications. And he's got another one on JavaScript or something like that. And
So podcasting is awesome for stuff like that.
Yep.
And I totally agree.
But he makes money.
And yeah, and you can definitely make money that way. with industry shows like that.
Yep. If you're an expert.
But I guess my angle is more, I look at it, I mean, that's all valid and it's great. And like, if you can do it, it is a lot of work and it's, do it. But the way that I'm interested in podcasts is more as entertainment. That's why I see the value kind of differently. You know what I mean?
I do. But
or like, at least those are the podcasts that I like. Like, I'm not about to sit and listen to a whole podcast about JavaScript.
Of course not. You're not. You have no reason to do that.
Yeah, but like the general public, when they're looking for entertainment, people listen to audiobooks a lot. Or
I'm a huge audiobook fan.
Yeah, exactly. So people like to be entertained through their ears. Mm-hmm. And that's one awesome way to do it. But the value of it then becomes maybe less about monetizing, more about content.
I don't know. I just don't think it's sustainable.
Okay.
I think that you're going to see, I think people, and again, I'm not saying that one path is better, but certainly I think if you ask the average hobbyist podcaster if he could make money doing his podcast, he would say yes. But I think the average hobbyist podcaster...
I don't know about that. I mean, if you're podcasting as a hobby, you think you're confident you're going to make tons of money from it?
No, I would say if they could, they would.
Oh, if they could, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's their goal, but I think part of the problem is that it's not their goal.
Okay.
Right now, when people call in to Get a Grip Studios and I interview them, like sometimes Scott will take the call, sometimes I take the calls. We're the only really two that can speak to it here. The rest are light bulb people. Mm-hmm. But when I talk to people, it's like, what's the goal of your show? What is the reason you're doing this for? Right? Why would you want to start a podcast? Because you want to get yourself in trouble? Because you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. Internet's a big place.
What do you mean by that?
Some people, they think that they're, like me. I kind of walk a really tight line around sensitive issues. I'm pretty good at it. But, I could get myself into some trouble, right? Because the best way to get popular right now, fast, is to say something really stupid. And then that'll go viral. Some light bulb store guy thinks he's hot stuff. Look what he's talking about with relation to issue X. Mm-hmm. He asks, how come you don't...
That's generally a bad approach, I would say.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is so you're going to do this for no reason other than it's an expression of your hobby. Okay, that's great. And...
those two things can coexist.
Yeah, right? But what I'm saying is that if you're going to do it as a hobby, okay, that's great. But if you want to start a podcast, what I would say is, who will pay for this? Start with that and just ask yourself that. If the answer is nobody, then it's for sure it's going to be a hobby. But if you can think of someone that might pay for your podcast, aim at them and go for them fast. Now, most podcasts, the person that's going to pay is going to be some sort of sponsor for your listeners.
Yeah. It's not going to be the listeners.
No. So aim at them, aim at those sponsors and work towards them. Tell them what you're doing. Announce it. Talk to them before you start. Get their feedback and say, hey, would you consider sponsoring this show?
Yeah.
And if you can get industry association behind you, so if you can be the official podcast of the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, that's a big help. Mm-hmm. So if you're part of groups, then you can do it. If it's a hobby, it's a hobby. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's
for sure those two things can coexist happily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And some of the best podcasts are hobbies for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think I guess Stitcher, they've come a long way. The whole Earwolf and Midroll group, I really don't know which one owns which at this point. But their model now is they have a paywall and listeners are paying for premium content, which you have to go a long way to get to that place, I think. Because it's not easy to be like...
Listeners paying is tough, man. Yeah. It's a tough one.
That's a ways away for most people.
Yeah. Listener paid, I don't know. It's interesting to see that we may look back at this era when we're old folks and say, wow, that was the era of free podcasting. What a great time to have been alive. Like the summer of love. I'll just kill myself
at that point.
Like the summer of love.
Just kidding.
How many people look back in 1969 and say, I'd love to have been alive in 1969? That time.
Not me. Isn't that when everyone was dying?
Dying of what?
I don't know. No, I mean or was it 79?
Summer of love, man.
Oh, yeah. Okay. When did all those musicians die? Didn't they all die in 1 year. I don't know, like Jim
Oh,
Morrison.
you're talking
and
about
stuff.
Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix. I
Yeah,
don't know,
everybody
Janis
died at some
Joplin.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so what? You gotta celebrate, and you gotta have to memorialize people. But I mean, that was a fun time to be alive. Like, and I think people are gonna look back at this time, the period from 2008 to 2000 whatever, and say maybe that was the era of free podcasting, and that area is gone now. It doesn't exist anymore.
That's sad.
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
I guess. I mean, yeah. Well, there's always the internet. And I think a big part of it is that people will just keep making stuff and putting it on the internet.
Yeah.
I don't think it could ever die, you know? I don't think that podcasting is ever going to just go away because it's now you have to pay for it or something.
I don't know.
No.
Not going to happen. You know more about it than me. So, all right. So let's see here. What else we got? We got 2 cats and 1 dog in Scarborough, where you live.
We're getting real deep into it, I guess.
You put it in here. I'm just.
I don't know. You told me to give you a bio, so I was like, well, these are things in my life.
Yeah. So if you were interviewing me,
yeah,
what would you ask me?
So, if you were living in 69, do you think that you would be doing a lot of acid?
That's a good question.
Wow.
I would
didn't
say
think it was going to be that hard.
I don't know, because I kind of have. I'm very, very high in openness to experience. As a person.
Have you done acid before?
No, I've never done acid.
This is my
before.
show now.
No, I've never done acid before. But
Okay.
but if I was around then, I mean, at that point, the whole Tim Leary thing and the consciousness expansion and that sort of thing, I probably would have fallen for it. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, you're super into LiFi, so.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I would say that if I was 21 in the summer of love and I'm at Woodstock,
Gotta do acid, man.
I think so. It's a tough call because
I sound like such a weird hippie now. I'm not like condoning everyone doing acid, just to be clear.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's one of those things that people say, are you you're a product of your time too, right? Like, and a person that may the same meat locker with the same consciousness in a different time could be a completely different person. Some people may be attracted to the zeitgeist of the era and want to be like, they think they're being a rebel, but really you're just another person in the herd.
Just caught up, yeah.
Yeah, you're caught up in the zeitgeist, and you think that you're doing something different, or you have this impression that you're unique, but really you're just a product of that. In a way, it's sad to say that, but I think that's largely true. Most people overestimate their own uniqueness. Or their own individuality.
I can understand that to an extent.
Externally, but underestimated internally. How's that?
You lost me.
I lost you. Okay, so people think that they're unique among others externally, but they're actually not. Like it's one of those things where your life, I'll put it I'm going off on a tangent here, but this is all about acid at the end of the day. LSD.
Yep.
And Tim Leary's
That's the
trip.
only reason I came here is to ask you that.
Your life is very serious, but you're not that important.
Oh boy.
Okay.
I feel like I'm in therapy.
No, think about it for a second. Like if you take your life seriously, but realize that you're not that important, it's a good way to approach life.
Yeah, sure.
And
you respect.
But a lot of people aren't really taking themselves seriously, but they think they're important. It's actually the other way around.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Some people think they're way too important.
Yes. I think most people do, especially people that are addicted to social media. That would be a symptom of social media use and posting is like a symptom of narcissism or egotistical narcissism gone awry. Not that social media is that, but somebody that's constantly
in some cases, I guess,
Instagram is or whatever it is. That's a symptom of I would say a narcissistic personality for sure.
It could also be a very sad person who wants friends. No?
I think depression would lead you to not post on so maybe I don't know.
I don't know. Depression
That's an interesting thing.
Shows up in very many different ways.
Sure, I agree.
And a lot of the time you can't tell at all
if somebody's hurting on the inside.
Yeah.
Maybe. What else would you ask me other than the liquid Kool-Aid acid test or whatever that is?
Do you have a dog?
I do.
Tell me more.
I have a German Shepherd, very well trained.
Cool.
I never had a big dog before, so
Did you have little dogs?
I had little dogs, but little dogs aren't threatening to people. But a German Shepherd.
But you wanted a dog that was going to be threatening to
No, I
people?
wanted to have a big dog because I live on a farm. But I didn't want.
You
it
live
to
on
be,
a farm?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that after you tell me about the dog.
Okay, so I wanted a dog that, it looks intimidating, but won't attack people or won't be aggressive. Like, there's nothing worse than going over to someone's house and their stupid big dog sticks their nose in your crotch and won't stop.
What? I love that.
Do you?
No.
Or the big dog's jumping up on you and I hate that.
Oh my God, I love big dogs.
I love big dogs, but I don't like it when they're out of control.
Okay.
Or you go to a
Fair.
dog park
Yeah,
and there's this
you're
big
right.
dog and
slobbering all over you.
Yeah, knocking other dogs over and being aggressive, and the owner can't call it. It won't come when it's called.
Yeah.
Like, that's dangerous. A little dog, who cares? Little dog's running
Right.
around.
Okay.
Who cares? Like,
I'm
it's not
with
going to
you.
hurt anybody. But a German Shepherd is intimidating to other people, just on its own. Like, you walk down the street with a German Shepherd, there's people that will cross the street. Right? They're just scared of the dog, the breed. So I spent a lot of time. I spent about 250 hours training that dog. It's very well trained.
Good stuff.
Yeah, but that was a lot of work. But she's a good dog.
What's her name?
Zoe.
That's my cat's name.
Come on, cat.
You're not allowed to have that name.
No,
How old's your dog?
5.
Damn it.
I named her first.
Yeah.
Zoe's a good dog name.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I don't
I've
know,
met other
for a
Zoe
German
dogs.
Shepherd. If it was a boy, it was gonna be Kaiser, which is
Like
king.
the bun?
No, yeah, a Kaiser is a king bun, right? King. Kaiser is
okay.
king. Or Tsar or Caesar in German, right?
Okay. That's intense.
It is intense. So that's that. I live on a farm. It's corn. They're growing corn this year. I don't actually farm it, but the neighbor farms
Someone
it.
else is growing your corn?
Someone else is growing my corn. Yeah. And someone else is growing my corn in the backyard. Yeah, so it's a corn farm. Last year it was a soybean farm. So.
Oh, wow. They plant a different thing every year?
They spray it with a lot of chemicals so it can grow anything in a year.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, most people don't realize how much chemicals are sprayed on the farms north of Toronto. It's crazy. If you saw it, it would blow your mind.
I feel like most of us know that there's just tons. Yeah.
I see them going along. I'm like, holy shit, is that killing me or what?
I'm glad that people can see this because that was a really good impression of a plane.
Or like I thought it was like a combine harvester with the arm sticking out, spraying the Roundup on all over the farm.
Okay, yeah.
That's what it was supposed to be.
Okay, my bad. Oops. Then I guess it was a really bad impression of that, and I thought it was a plane.
Plane. Oh, man. Struggling here. Struggling.
Okay, cool. You live on a farm. That's cool. My dad lives out in the countryside in a house on the lake, which is lovely.
Yeah.
I wish I could. No, I don't wish I could live there. I lied.
You know what?
But I wish I
there's
could go there
pros and
more.
cons. There's pros and cons to living in
Where's
the
your
country.
farm?
It's in Uxbridge.
Right.
Uxbridge Township. So Uxbridge is like a township and
How
a
far
city.
is the drive?
30 minutes from here? 25 minutes?
That's nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. It's for sale right now, my farm. You want to buy it?
Sure, I'll take it. I'll take 2.
2. Woo! High roller. Yeah, it's for sale right now. I actually, I'm moving soon, so.
Where are you moving? Another farm?
No, my kids don't want to live on a farm anymore. I got 4. They're all
You have
becoming
4 kids?
4 kids.
Oh my God.
4 kids, yeah. How many kids do you have? You just have cats and dogs.
I have 3.
3.
2 are cats and 1 is a dog.
Those are not kids. I resent humans that call their animals kids. That's a pet, a personal.
I
pet peeve of
don't
mine.
honestly go
Pet
around
parents,
calling
it's
them
like, what are you
all my
talking
children.
about? What are you
But you
It's
are
as
a pet parent.
As a joke, yes.
Sure, as a joke, or like, she's my baby. The dog is
that's cool.
whatever. Like she is.
Sure. Zoe's my baby too.
Yeah, like
Well, my wife's baby. actually.
you do spend. I mean, you spent so much time training your dog.
Sure.
That was almost. I mean, it's definitely nothing like raising a kid, and I would never.
Dogs
say
don't talk
that.
back, man.
Yeah. Well, my dog does, but I guess yours doesn't.
No, she doesn't.
I
talk
trained mine to
back.
talk.
What does it say?
She says "fuck you" a lot.
Come on, ruff, ruff.
Yeah.
Come on. What kind of dog is it?
She's a mutt and a half. She's like I don't know, some kind of mix. She's a hound mix.
Did you rescue her?
Yeah, she was a stray in Greece.
You look like that rescue type.
I look like a rescue type.
Yeah, like a girl that likes to rescue animals.
Elaborate.
Is that an insult?
No, now
just
you have
that,
to elaborate.
You just have that look to you that like you see a cat and it's like, oh, look at the cat.
So I look like a nice person.
Well,
Is that what you're saying?
I hate when I see cats that are out in the street. I don't want to touch it. My wife's like, oh, look at the cat. Don't touch that thing. It's disgusting. Or a stray dog. She's like, oh, look at the dog. No, don't touch that dog.
You definitely have to be careful.
Crazy? That's a dirty, filthy animal. Don't touch it. But you look like the type of girl that's like, oh, I feel bad for the cat.
I do feel bad for the
I
cat.
have no feelings at all for those animals.
Well, I guess you can tell everything about me from the way I look.
You look like someone that likes cats, I have to say. You do. You just have this like look of like, you know.
Specifically, why? What is it? Is it my eye color?
You just have like that. You have that catty vibe. Yeah, like you just look like someone that would do that. Am I in trouble here? To watch that. Don't call women cat ladies out there, guys.
No, it's fine. I'm happy to look like someone who is nice to animals.
Yes, that's what it is.
That's great.
Like you look
I'll
like
take that
someone.
any
Yeah,
day.
you look like somebody that might not eat meat.
That is just no, I eat lots of meat.
But like a night might not. Like just
Oh, okay.
You
You mean potentially?
Yeah, like just
we're just
like if you-
classifying me
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Labeling you a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you were to say to me, like, "Oh, I'm a vegetarian," I would be like, "Okay, yeah."
Oh
makes
yeah, that
sense.
checks out.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You
Cool.
know, it's just you gotta see people, get a vibe for them. I don't know. I'm
All right.
stereotyping you here,
Sure.
being a real jerk.
That's okay. I can take it. You can dish it out.
You can stereotype me if you want.
No, you know what? I was just thinking in my head, like, I should tell him he looks like a guy who does this.
Do it.
But I can't think of anything
Come
because
on.
in general, I don't look at people that way. So
I don't stereotype people about animals, whether they like animals or not.
no, I just honestly couldn't think of a thing. You look like a guy like maybe that like likes cars.
No, I hate cars. I hate cars.
See, I'm not good at this.
There's
I guess.
nothing more annoying to me than like having to fix a car. I wouldn't want to do that. Like I when I was younger, I had to change oil, and it's like, okay, I'll do it. But
Ew, you had to change the oil by yourself.
all
I'm
by
such
myself.
I'm
I don't
such a
do it
loser
anymore.
about
But I
stuff
mean,
like that.
yeah, I mean, you know what I mean. It's one of those things. Like some guys are like bolt nuts. They're really into like cars and fixing them and all that. It's
My
like,
brother just bought the fastest jet ski you can buy.
wow, it's crazy.
And
Those
it's like
are
his
fun as heck.
fourth jet ski. Like
Those
he
are
has
fun as heck.
problems.
Ah, they're fun as heck. Jet skis are fun, man.
Okay, you look like a guy that loves jet skis.
I don't have a jet ski. I had 2 snowmobiles, but I sold them.
Oh, really?
But I had some toys out there on the farm. Yeah.
Oh,
Why
yeah,
not?
you live on a farm. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, you could just snowmobile.
Do you have a tree house?
We had one at the other farm. Well, my first farm, I had a treehouse. But now my kids are too old for treehouses.
How old are your kids?
I have a 15-year-old. She's going to be 16 next month.
Oh, my God.
16, 14, 11, and 9. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Coming out hot. They're all on me now, too. Whew. I miss my little family now. I have a big family, and they're driving me crazy.
I like big families.
Me too. Yeah, I meant when my kids were smaller and they were more.
Oh, they were
they're more
physically
malleable
little.
and controllable.
Okay.
Now they're just completely out of control. I don't know what to do with them.
But don't they just kind of like take care of themselves at some point?
No,
Just,
they
like,
cause trouble, man. Kids,
just, like, be like,
teenagers
"Go,
are harder.
take
Man.
care of yourself."
Teenagers are harder than little kids.
Then-
I mean, it depends on how you look at it. Because like when I see, so I'm 41,
Mhm.
right? So most of my friends have little kids, but my kids are all grown up. So like I started younger, and like we were at a party, and my wife, my youngest daughter, went up to my wife and gave her a hug at this party, and these were all her friends from high school, and they were holding babies, and their first or second baby, and my wife's, that's her 4th child, 9. She could babysit those kids, right? So we're kind of in a different thing, and when I see them get out,
Don't let 9-year-olds babysit babies. I think that's a bad idea.
they can do it when they're 11.
Okay, sure.
Right, but I mean, she could watch her, like if Caroline was in the house and keep an eye on the baby. Yeah, for sure.
Is that
Come
your
on, kids can
wife's name?
Caroline, yeah.
Okay.
So the oops, sorry, baby. But
Oh, are we not allowed to say
nah,
that?
you can say Caroline. It's fine. But the
Caroline.
she doesn't listen. Don't worry.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like when I see them get out of the car with the strollers and the bags and the diapers, and I just go, okay, I remember that. So I don't know.
That's a nightmare?
Like the car seats.
Oh, man.
Not having to put it when I go to not have to put kids' belts on was such a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Man. Get in the car, put your seatbelt on, click, good, we're good to
Yeah.
go.
You could just take that mentality for everything else. Go take care of yourself. You're 9 now. You can do anything.
The problem is with like rebellious teenagers, man. That's a tough nut. That's a tough one.
What's the worst thing your kid ever did?
Oh man. I don't think it, like, she hasn't really done anything. Like my oldest, Leah, I love you, sweetie. She listens sometime, actually.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I mean, she, like, I mean, it's mostly the lipping off and the acrimony.
What's the worst thing she ever said to you?
Oh, yeah, she said it all to me. I don't know.
Man.
I can't say. I can't remember specifics, but it's just like the acrimoniousness and like the insinuation that, you know, oh, you're not allowed to do this. Oh, you know, they're just the insinuations that go with like not preventing some, you know, we don't allow phones in the room. That's
any room?
In the rooms, in their bedrooms.
They're not allowed to have a phone in their room?
No phones in the rooms because they'll be up on it all night.
Yeah,
it's a circadian rhythm disruptor.
Okay, fair.
Right, so that's exactly what it is. It's a circadian rhythm disruptor.
Well, aside from that, also it's just like addictive, I guess.
Yeah,
like
for
you just
sure.
want to like look at Facebook all night.
For sure, but no Facebook, Snapchat, and Instagram.
They
don't have Facebook.
They don't even care about Facebook. That's
on,
old people stuff.
Facebook.
Gross.
Exactly. How dare you? TikTok is a new one now too.
What is that exactly?
I think it's owned by the Chinese army. How'd you like that answer? It's something like that. It's owned by some crazy Chinese company for sure. Whether that matters to you or not.
Are you talking about like Huawei phone things?
Huawei, yeah. So I actually wrote a
say?
series of articles called "The China Question" for the lighting industry, which is interesting. So I have some opinions about China that are very unique.
Okay, and this is the China
question.
Get a Grip on China podcast.
The Get a Grip on China podcast. Well, I mean, I probably like
let's
say China takes over the world. Let's say China
stuff.
takes over the world in our lifetime.
You what?
Let's say China takes over the world in our lifetime.
Let's say, for the sake of argument.
It's not out of the question.
Okay. Like over the whole world.
Yeah. Like people don't.
How so?
Like exactly, people are like, well, what about U.S. might and all that sort of stuff. It's like
that's not my question.
Oh.
I mean, like, how on earth would they do that?
Well, okay, so the average Chinese person lives with 1/5 of what you have right now.
Okay.
Right? Do they want to keep it that way?
No, but like a lot of
it's a zero-sum game. There's only so much resources to go around. 1.6 billion of them. We have a lot of water. No, seriously, people think it's funny, but there's real issues in China with resources.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely positive.
Do you know we've done a lot of bad things to China in our history?
Yeah.
There's been periods of time when we did like a lot of...
Do you think they're going to take Canada first?
I don't know if they're going to take anything. I just I think that the idea of a peaceful Chinese rise is really a Western racist idea. Like what makes what makes us think that you know they would want to continue to live in a relationship with us where they give us cheap products and live at a lower standard of living than us? Why would we assume that they would want to continue to perpetuate that?
Okay.
Right? Like it doesn't make any sense.
So who's going down first?
The biggest risk is the breakdown of political compromise in the United States. That's the biggest risk to the world, right? So
that is happening right now.
Yeah. There's a breakdown of political compromise. This is not a speculation, right? So the idea of democratic institutions in the United States are falling apart. Okay, that's a major issue in the world. Like if you don't take that seriously, if people don't say, "Oh, what's the big deal? Trump, this and that, left wing, right wing, or Democrats," no, it's a very serious issue that the most powerful country in the world is tearing at the seams. It's not a joke. It's a serious issue.
Yeah, okay.
It's like very serious, and the people like the acrimony between the two sides is at a level I don't know if we've ever seen before, where. You know, and then people are getting captured into these podcasts for social media world where they only hear one message. So they're not open to conversations with other people. Okay. This is very dangerous. People don't understand like that as political compromise breaks down and as society starts to polarize, right? That the force that people say America's a joke. America keeps the world safe with their might. Okay, and people go, well, what do you mean America this? Largely, America's a force for good. China is not a force for good. Mm-hmm. The world breaks down that way. It does. And
you know what you look like?
Tell me. Change the subject. But I can tell you more about China.
You look like a guy that thinks China is going to take over the world like tomorrow.
No, probably in the next 50 years. Maybe in my lifetime.
You know what else you look like?
When I say take over the world, hang on. What I mean is China becomes the preeminent power in the world and dictates the terms of trade.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's a major change.
I'm honestly not entirely dismissing all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to come at you with like, you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really think about it.
Sure, most people don't. But most people are aware of the breakdown of political compromise in the United States and Canada, but it doesn't really matter what happens in Canada.
You look like a guy who maybe meditates.
I do meditate, yeah. Every day.
Nailed it.
Boom, that's a good one. But you listen to my podcast, so you might know that.
I didn't listen to that.
Okay. I meditate every day, and I pray every day as well.
Wow.
Do you?
To Jesus?
Yes.
Sweet. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't do either of those things.
No? Why not? Do you know what they are?
Meditation and Jesus?
No, prayer and meditation. The difference between the two?
I guess that's an interesting thing I never really thought about. They seem related.
So when I speak to people about it,
I mean, meditation is a little bit more internal. I feel like looking inward.
Right.
And prayer feels like it's something coming outward.
So if I talk to a Christian person, like who's a Christian, like me.
Not a guy named Christian.
Not a guy named Christian. I know a guy named Christian too, though.
Is he a Christian also?
I don't know. I haven't asked him yet. I probably should.
You should
He's
get him on
named
the show.
after Christ. No, he's not interesting enough.
Okay.
Sorry, Christian Amato.
Sorry, Christian.
So when you're talking to people, you say the word prayer to them. It's like, ooh, what do you mean prayer? Okay, you can change the meaning, the words, and it changes it for people, and then they feel good about it. So if you go to a person who's a Christian, you say, we're going to meditate. They're like, I don't meditate. It's like, okay.
Really? They have that reaction?
A lot of people do, yeah. And if you say to someone like, okay, we're going to pray now, they're like, oh, I'm not a Christian, I'm an atheist. Okay, so let's change the words, right? So if I were to say to you, we're going to cultivate gratitude.
That means nothing to me. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Let's say I said to you, like, it would improve your life substantially if every day you spent time being thankful for what you have. Your life would be better.
Sure.
That's prayer. Prayer is simply gratefulness for what is.
Okay.
Right? Anybody that sits around saying,
it's very connected with like mindfulness, I guess.
Mindfulness is another word for prayer, living in prayer.
Sure.
But people just don't like the word. It's like semantics.
But I think prayer would be more used by somebody who is, feels a connection with a God and whatever, Jesus and stuff.
Right. So it's a word that's loaded.
Yes.
Right? It's loaded with a whole bunch of baggage that people don't want to carry around. Mm-hmm. Right? But prayer is really just gratefulness for what is. And whether you're thanking God, Christ, the universe, whatever, it's very healthy to pray. Meditation is sort of, if you say to a Christian, we're not going to meditate, we're just going to be silent and listen to the voice of God. It's like, oh, okay, great. And what's the voice sound like? Well, it's a profound silence, actually. Mm-hmm. And so you explain this to people, and in different ways you can connect with them about the same thing. And that what they're showing when they reel back when you say prayer, or they reel back when you say meditation, and you see this, I've seen it on my show a couple times. When you see that, what you're seeing is somebody has taken on baggage because of that in the past, and you want to get rid of that baggage, right? Because gratitude cultivation is so helpful for people. It's almost, I would say, other than I've interviewed lots of mindfulness practitioners on this show. And the one thing that I would say all of them have in common is gratefulness cultivation, right, as the fundamental balancing activity you can do every day. And the number one way out of the mire of I'm not going to say, there's obviously people that have medical issues that need to see a doctor, but some people that just have a malaise, right? And they're not grateful for anything they have. They're refusing to see what a wonderful place they live in, how open and free it is. They take for granted the safety of the streets. Now, Toronto's not as safe as Uxbridge, maybe, but it's safe to walk around. That's a miracle.
Yeah.
Like a single woman can walk down Victoria Park Avenue, get a job, work. That has never happened before in the history of the world.
Oh,
Women
yeah,
were never
okay.
safe before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
they still
ever-
sometimes are not. But,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I
agreed.
get what you're saying.
Yeah, the whole law of our society is predicated on the idea of keeping women safe from men. Entire thing. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
That is a whole conversation.
But that's the dynamic, is that, you know, you can be a single person in Toronto and live a life. It's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle that the electricity flows here every day. People think, oh, take it for granted.
LiFi? Oh my
LiFi
God.
is the next miracle.
That's a miracle.
That's going to be the Matrix.
That is going to be the Matrix. Yeah, you mentioned that.
So anyway, I go off topic on these sorts of shows, but yeah, you got me on a lot of wild
That's
ones
okay.
today. LSD,
You know what?
no.
I'm glad that you go off topic, because I came here literally in the parking lot as I was walking here. I was like, what is going to happen? I don't know what. I mean, I've never been on the show. I didn't even listen to it that much. I did
Sure.
listen to it a little bit, but
Sure. Gotta fire the producer.
yeah.
Oh, hey, Scott. Let's go.
Yeah, but who's going to Google stuff for you? If
You know,
do that?
actually, you know what? Scott is a great producer, actually. He's got all the, he's really good at his job. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's not going to
Shout out to Scott.
Scotty.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what he could possibly ask me. I mean, the blog that I do and podcasting and stuff in general, that could take up maybe like a 20-minute
Sure.
show or something. We kind of get into podcasting in general. But I'm glad that you brought some stuff to the table. Just tangents. Great.
You know what I like most about podcasting is the one thing especially with people I've never met, is like the awkwardness you can create by taking them down like a little path and then watching them kind of go, I don't know if I want to talk about this. I don't know if I want to talk about this. Oh yeah, but he told me that it's my show. I can edit. You can see people get a little bit awkward about topics, and then you pull back from them.
Yeah, you can release all of this.
Okay, great.
Let's put it on record. I'm not ashamed of anything I've said today.
I'm ashamed of a couple of things I should have said. No, I mean,
Like what?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember.
I'm just kidding. You don't have to answer that.
But yeah, I
It's your
mean, I mean, you know, I like when you ask people questions, and like, because you can listen to their podcasts and get a feel for who they are, and then you start asking them questions about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to see how some people respond to the challenge, you know, and I'm developing my own ideas through this show, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Like the ability to speak to other people that want to speak on podcasts. You're getting into like a kind of a cool network of people that you get to meet and talk to. And this one guy, we spent an hour chatting, and he's over in the Czech Republic. And, you know, it's like you talk to them, you get their ideas on things, and they get your ideas. It's nice. That's what podcasting
And
for me
next
is.
thing you know, you're the best man at his wedding.
Yeah, there you go. That's how it goes, right? But or you rescue his cat or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't get her from a specific person. It was a rescue agency. But yeah.
It was an agency.
Yeah, or whatever. Company? Group?
I don't know.
I don't know what they're called.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I bought my dog from a breeder. Oh man.
Oh man, I can't really say terrible things about breeding, because some people can do it well and humanely and nicely.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say terrible things about people that don't do that, because that's awful.
Do you have more natural compassion for animals than humans? Like when you think about it, when you think about humans being
That's a very general
mistreated.
question.
I know, but I find that most people that are animal people actually have more empathy for animals, like in their imagined world. So when you think about like, oh, this puppy mill, that makes me so angry. But they don't feel the same way about human-related issues. It doesn't touch them the same way or something. It's like those humans
I
can
can
take care of
understand.
themselves.
Yeah, I guess I
It's
can.
probably their fault.
I mean, that is such a generalization that like people that love animals definitely don't all behave that way.
Of course not. I'm just saying.
But I can kind of understand what you're saying. It's sometimes it's like the cuter the thing, the worse you feel about it. You know?
So like you don't want to rescue
Or like the
rats.
more helpless the thing is the other thing.
Rats can
I
be
guess.
helpless.
Yeah, yeah, rats can be very helpless, and I would never support torturing rats. Like, but I mean, I don't support torturing people either.
Right.
And I don't think that necessarily you
But I
care
find
about
that
one thing
I do.
more
I
than
think-
the
I
other.
think,
I
like,
think
some-
all cruelty is bad.
Agree with that. I think
Yeah.
that there's something particularly There's something about cruelty to animals that strikes people differently, though. There's something about it that it works on people differently.
Yeah.
Some people get really
I
upset
kind of
about it.
understand that.
They could see like they could hear about a genocide in some country and they'll be like,
Yeah.
Rwanda, okay, but they hear
doesn't
about
tug your heartstrings
yeah,
as much somehow.
somehow it doesn't.
Although it definitely does. But I don't know. Maybe some things feel closer to home. I don't know. Like if you're talking about like, let's say 100 people died in some country that you're not familiar with very much, that's a tragedy and you care a lot. But maybe like if there's a puppy mill down the road, it's like one thing maybe hurts a little more. I don't know. One thing feels a little more distant. Maybe that's what it is.
I don't know what it is. It's a tough one. I think we'll call it on that one.
Oh, wow. That's a good note to go on.
Don't buy your dog on Kijiji. You got me?
That's a way to end it.
Brutal. Want to say something funny for all the listeners
Yes,
out there?
please. God.
I don't know. Got funny on the topic.
Do something funny.
Do something funny. Throw my pen at the screen.
Break it.
Thank you for listening to the Get a Grip on Life podcast. If you want to start your own show, check out getagripstudios.com. You know how to spell it. Getagripstudios.com, baby. I'd like to thank Marianna Miniotis. What's the name of your blog again?
Podcreatures.ca.
Podcreatures.ca. I'm going to check it out right after this, actually.
Sure.
Is there going to be an article on the Get a Grip on Life podcast on there?
No, because I haven't interviewed you about your show.
What was all this?
It's all interviews about the shows. I don't just write stuff.
Oh, man.
I mean, yeah, I can transcribe all this if you want.
So podcreatures.ca.
Yes.
Podcreatures.ca. Check it out there. She writes about podcasts. Also gives you a heads up before you even start listening, man. Get after it. Thank you for listening.